Hello everyone, I am Chandresh. Welcome to the Leela Show podcast. Today I'm going to talk about the culture of healing. We live in times where we are more resourced, more well informed than ever. You open your phone, there's going to be massive information about trauma, psychology, relationships, meditation, everything. You may look here and there and you'll find some healing bits for that day. I live in LA. I can go to a cafe and start talking about the cycles of moon or astrology. They'll know it. We are more informed than ever, and yet I see we are more exhausted than ever as well. What's going on? That's the theme of today's podcast. Why we have so much information and yet we are so tired, so exhausted, so depleted. The point I want to make in this episode is somewhere along the way, healing has stopped being a process for us and became a full-on identity, a 24/7 identity where the mind says, I'm healing, I'm triggered, I'm traumatized. And mind is stuck in that loop, that identity so strongly, it's not even willing to get out of it. Now, keep in mind, this is so sensitive topic, and I'm not at all against the narrative, the conversations on trauma. It's so important. I didn't know about the term trauma many years ago. I started learning, I started understanding my own traumas. My problem or my challenge, my concern is, what if I get so stuck in that identity that where trauma stops being a reason for my journey and starts becoming an excuse for what I'm doing? And that's where the problem starts to happen. Now, why does it happen? If you have listened to the previous episodes, I speak a lot about mind. Mind comprises of three layers: identity, information, and memory. So when you are born, you are given a certain identity. You have a certain identity, but you are clueless about it. You're given that by others, right? Family, religion, society, school, they all give you layers of that identity, and that becomes your reality. You're given belief systems, knowledge, information about who you are, what it means to be successful, what it means to be a failure, what's a good relationship, what's a not good relationship. So the identity you're given, the information you have about life, the memories you have about life, that's what mind really is. Mind is product of these three things. Now, when you start to get information about trauma, about the experiences you have gone through, the uneasy, challenging experiences, the memory starts to trigger, it starts to connect the dots. And now you suddenly have a new identity. That newer identity, the one that says you are traumatized, you are triggered, you have not gone through easy experiences in life, that's a very good information. What you do with that information is where things start to change. My concern is when this information leads you to endless processing. Okay, that's the word. Not processing in the moment with awareness, but it's endless, it never stops. It brings back, a memory of my high school days. I think I was not even in high school, maybe 6th or 7th grade. I lived in India. I had sinus problem. I lived in a mountain town. So in winters, my nose will be always, blocked. So I went to this homeopathy doctor. If you know of homeopathy medicines, they're sweet. They're like candies. I haven't had one in many years, but they are like sweet candies. So someone recommended this doctor. I went there and I kept on going to him for weeks and months. And my aunt, who recommended it, she meets him and she says, my nephew comes to you. How's his sinus? And he said, he's fine. He's okay now. And she said, but he still comes to you, right? He said, yeah, I don't know why he comes to me, but he's fine. Now, my aunt comes home. She's making a little joke out of it. The Chandresh, why you're still going there? He says, you're fine. Now, as a teenager, I don't like this joke. I go to doctor, I said, why did you tell my aunt I'm fine? I'm not fine. And he said, Chandresh, you're young. You're a teenager. your system will build, you're overprotecting your system by taking these medications. I don't like his answer. I tell my friend, I said, this is what he says. My friend said, I know another homeopathy doctor. We'll go there. See, now we are kids. It's like a Stranger Things episode, in my head right now. So my friend recommends another doctor. I go to him, and he's giving me some serious attention at the moment. And he's like, he's giving me medication, and he's asking me, every other week, how are you feeling? I'm like, no, I think it's still there. The sinus is still there. And he said, how's your schedule for the next few days? Do you have exams or what's going on? I said, I have exams in like a month or so. But why do you ask? He said, I have a stronger medication that's going to internally change some things, but your sinus will never come back. I'm like, this sounds like serious business. I said, okay, bring it on. I'm ready. This is what I was waiting for. I get that medication. One evening I come home. This is within the same week of when I started the medication. I come home. I'm starting to have this feverish feeling and some itch in the back. I have no energy. I fall asleep. And when I wake up, I have rashes all over. Next thing I know, I got chicken pox. It scared the hell out of me. It's rashes all over the body. And I was scared. I still have, like spots on my back from that. It reminds me all the time what the hell I did. Now, I am on bed for a few weeks. I missed the exam. It's so painful. I couldn't even look at myself. It was all over. And I called my friend. So I think his medication reacted or something. My friend is very upset with the doctor, but we are little kids. I just have to now face what happened. But what I learned from that entire episode, sometimes, the healing is done, the medicine has done its job, and now you got to live your life. But if you continue to sit in that identity and keep jumping from one healer to another, one doctor to another, the body will collapse. It's like, I don't know what to do anymore. It's a metaphor that I still think about. It still scares me. Those 2 months or so were horrible for me. A lot of pain. And as a teenager, it also brings down your, self-esteem, because, you want to look cool. Even one pimple, doesn't go well with a teenage. Imagine I had so many on my face at the time. It was horrible. But my point here is, this is what we keep on doing as adults. So when someone reaches out to me and they talk about, the challenges and everything, and they were like, I've worked with, healers, I've done retreats, I have read the books, I've had my awakening, but I'm so interested in your program, I'm so interested in your one-on-one. My first question is, what is it that all of these teachers or programs could not solve that you think I'll be able to solve? And that begins a very healthy conversation. Because, as, the role of teacher I have limited capacity, right, to sit with practical challenges of people. I want to make sure I take on the ones that I genuinely can help and go deeper. Also, my job is to point you in the right direction. So if you've been to 7 teachers already, I don't want to be the 8th teacher. You should be your 8th teacher, okay? Take what you have already learned, embody it, integrate it, because that loop never ends, my friend. I want to bring in example of many teachers, coaches, healers in the wellness industry who have had serious addiction challenges, substance addiction, years of, struggling with their own substance patterns. And then, they got into meditation, they got into healing, and the substance addiction took a back seat. So good, right? But now they have a new addiction. The new addiction is healing. New addiction is talking about healing and normalizing that loop for everyone. And I've been watching the journey of those healers and coaches for more than 10 years now. It's so clear, it's so visible that they are addicted to being the next top thing in the spiritual industry. The language has changed, the substance has changed, but the loop, the race, it's still there. In my opinion, this is not what healing is all about. I feel You don't need any more healing. What you need is willingness to sit with your shadows, willingness to meet yourself in your total presence. There's a word in Tantra called Shakti, right? Shakti means power, means strength. Shakti means the feminine energy. Shakti also means courage. It's a Sanskrit word, but it has many labels, many forms, many expressions. And this is what I tell everyone. You don't need any more healing, my friend. You need to sit with your Shakti. You need to sit with the Shiva within. Shiva is that unshakable stillness. Shakti is that fluid movement. Shiva and Shakti combined are your presence. If I'm not willing to sit with my presence, and just like what I did as a teenager, jumping from one, candy doctor to another, it's not going to solve my problem. It's going to collapse me into a chickenpox metaphor again and again, right? Where I will be stuck, I will be on a bed for another month or so. And then again, after getting out of bed, I'll move on to another teacher. Take a moment to pause and meditate. Where in your life has your healing became your hiding space? I'm reminding you again, healing is not your enemy, but the process is not your destination. Process is a process. It needs to end at some point so you move on to the next level. Otherwise, your mind will go out of control. It wouldn't know where to land. It needs a landing space. It needs a grounding space. Imagine you wake up one morning, your kitchen water is leaking. The water is all over in the living room. You get panic. You call a plumber. The plumber comes in and he opens the tap. There's more water now. And now he steps back. And you're like, dude, why you're not fixing it? And the plumber says, this is very traumatic to me, seeing all this water. So I can't do it today. I have to maybe see my healer. Maybe I'll have to meditate. And you're like, but this is your job. You got to fix it. What if the plumber says, you're shaming me right now? I'm fixing what I need to learn. I'm teaching what I need to learn. I need to learn how to sit with water. So don't shame me for this. And again, you're like, but this is what you choose to do. Doesn't make sense, right? Imagine plumbers, surgeons, doctors, they open you up and they're like, I'm not feeling the vibe. This is, igniting a lot of my trauma. I cannot do the surgery, and you're just ripped apart in your belly. I know a bit graphic analogy to share, but when we think of plumbers, doctors, we don't think of them as this being. They show up, they do the job. Sometimes healing is hidden in the momentum, okay? Healing wants action. Healing wants the momentum. I could avoid recording this episode for next 3 years. I have many reasons why I don't want to record, why I don't want to do the podcast, why I don't want to do this and that. Those narratives can still stay, but I can still choose to show up. And when I choose to show up, that action cancels the darkness. I mean it. I guarantee you. This is why I put so much emphasis on creativity. Think of that endless processing as tight loop. It's like tight knots, like with very tight with each other. The more you analyze your trauma, the more you get into that language, the knots don't get loosened up. They get more tighter. The softness happens when there is less analysis and more action. This river, when the water is moving, if it continues to move consistently, it's going to, create a lot of softness in the nature. When it's stagnant, that's when the problem happens. And mind loves the stagnation because that's where mind gets its power. Remember, mind is identity, information, and memory. It will always go to the past and amplify identity, information, and memory. It will never get you out of it. This is why Tantra is defined as the transcendence of mind, the science of going beyond mind, the science of transcending even the consciousness, because we are so rooted, so stuck in those zones, and that root needs to be repot. You've got to uproot yourself, put yourself in a place where you can thrive. Many times the problem is not in the plant. It's just, planted in the wrong space. When it's uprooted, put to the different space, it starts to make a difference. This pattern shows up in the modern relationships, in the modern dating. I mean, look at Twitter. Now it's called X, or the Threads app. That's by Instagram. When you look at these apps and see the conversations around relationships, around dating, even in practical day-to-day life, it's becoming more and more normal for people to not interact as humans anymore. They are interacting as psychologists. They're interacting as astrologers. They have already decided, oh, he's a Leo, so I know how the date is going to go. Oh, her moon is in Venus. I know, she acts up like this way. We have gotten so stuck in the astrology, in the psychological analysis. We are giving diagnostic framework to fellow humans, and that's taking away the human experience. How sad is that? How crazy is that? I would love to see two people sitting, and instead of bringing astrology and psychology, they're asking each other, are we feeling alive right now? Are we feeling enough safe to be vulnerable right now? Are we feeling enough open to talk about our shadows? Can we go for a long walk and just admire the nature and not think about, when is Mercury going to be in retrograde? Again, these knowledge of astrology, psychology, not bad. I mean, I come from that space. But when you're living in that space 24/7, you are going to miss out on almost all tender, beautiful, gentle experiences of human life. That's not fun. This process is not your enemy. Healing is not your enemy. But at some point, you have to make a decision that this knowledge should not collapse your identity. Okay? To conclude this episode, I want to invite you into some integration, some solution. I never want to give you just a pep talk on these things. I do want to make it practical. If there are any questions, put that in the comments. What is the integration? How do we get out of this? Number one, of course, meditation. Your solo meditation, or if you do guided meditation, very specific guided meditations that help you understand, who am I beyond this narrative? Who am I if I'm not in this healing loop? Who am I if I drop my last name and just see myself as a human? A very powerful meditation and freedom can happen with this mantra, who am I? And the right way to do that meditation is you breathe in, breathe out, do that for 2-3 minutes, ask yourself, who am I? And any label that the mind gives, you break that label, you cancel it by saying, not this, not this. Who am I? A son, not this. Who am I? A wife, not this. Who am I? A husband, not this. Who am I? A brother, not this. You keep canceling all the labels, even the good ones, okay? Who am I? A spiritual teacher? Not this. Who am I? A writer? Not this. When you keep canceling, the mind will eventually shut up, and then you start to experience complete silence. Somewhere in that silence, you are going to experience the freedom. If you repeat it consistently, even 5 minutes a day, I promise you, you will start to feel so much freedom from the endless loop that your mind has been putting you in. Number two, learn your self-love language. Next time the mind says, I'm triggered, I'm still healing, I'm still traumatized, do not fight with that voice, okay? Breathe in, breathe out, relax. Remind yourself of the law of karma. It says you are a conscious choice maker. So I would want you to make a choice in that moment. I choose to write a new story. I choose to move forward with calmness. I choose to keep this voice on the side and move forward with my clarity. If there is your dad, mom, your partner showing up in the head and speaking to you, take a deep breath, tell them, you can take a back seat right now. I'm going to move forward with my journey. If they're talking to you there, you talk back at them, but this time with awareness, not as a victim, not as they're attacking you, but as this sovereign being. because you are a sovereign being. You have a choice-making process. Mind is so neutral that whatever story, label, new mantras, new belief systems you assign it, it will follow. Right now, the mind has taken on assignment, belief systems of your family, your relationships, your school, your religion. You get to make a conscious choice again and again. You are a conscious choice maker, and you get to make choices that serve you, not your past, not projecting the future, but serve you in the present moment. Number two, maybe number three at this point, I lost the track, but next point is uh, the 24-hour mantra, and that's my go-to mantra for many years. I know if you have been listening to podcasts, I've spoken about it in the first episodes also. When I get a message, email, or if there's a situation I'm sitting with that involves a lot of triggering moments, I'll not respond to it in that moment. I'll pause, I'll sit. If it's happening live with someone, I tell them, I'll get back to you maybe tomorrow, maybe when I feel a bit calmness, because anger weakens your argument. Reaction, weakens the point you're trying to make. And I will give minimum 24 hours to that energy, that conflict. And when I'm feeling more centered, when I'm feeling less traumatized, then I will respond. I'm channeling muscles of my awareness and not the mind. Okay. The next one is stop collecting teachers. Stop collecting wisdom. Start acting on it. Start embodying it. Start integrating what you already know. You can speak to, or you can read 5 different books on spirituality, wellness. Although 5 books will have so many similar points. So before you buy the next book, before you join the next program, ask yourself, what is it that I already know, but I have not embodied it? What is it I already know, but I have not applied it? And the final question to sit with is, if I stopped identifying as a wounded being, who would I have to become? If I'm not seeing myself as a wounded being, who do I become? Sit with that version of you. Speak to it. Listen to it without adding your own analysis to it. That's all for this episode. I hope this was helpful. If there are any questions, if it challenged you in some way, don't hesitate to ask questions, share in the comments. This is not a declaration. This is a sharing moment. I would love to hear from you, and we build a conversation out of it. Okay. Thank you for listening.